welcome back to Andrew Gamero Coaching and NoPainAllGain.ca. Today, we're going to talk about saying no. So saying no is something we had no problem doing when we were toddlers, but somehow over the years, we've forgotten how to do it. And I know for me, that's very, very common as I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I hate saying no to people because I really want to help them. And if they ask me to do something, I really want to be able to do it for them. But when we don't say no, this tends to make us overschedule ourselves, which doesn't help us at all. It can lead to us not taking care of ourselves, which then takes us down the road of chronic illnesses, including chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So here's why it is so important for us to learn how to say no again and be okay with it. Why do we have such a hard time saying no? Well, the reason usually is that you don't want to disappoint others. We don't want our parents, partners, employers, kids, friends, family, we don't want them to be angry with us or disappointed in us because we said no. And we also live in a society which tends to tell us that if you say no, you're not being very nice. But the best thing we can do for ourselves is to get over disappointing others. Because you really can't help others when you're so exhausted you can't get off the couch. There seems to be this undercurrent that you're actually obligated to say yes to everything that's asked of you. And that's just simply not reasonable. We can't do everything all the time and be everything to all people as much as we want to be. And as a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser, this is extra hard for me. I am all for helping people. I love helping people and doing what they ask and require of me as much as I can, but there needs to be a balance. And that's what I'm advocating for here. Having a balance between what other people want and what you can actually provide. Because if you don't keep yourself as an important person in your life, then you're heading for disaster. And just because you want to do something for someone else, it doesn't mean you have the time or the ability to do it. So make sure you're finding a balance of what you want to do and what you actually can do. Now, how do you be okay with saying no? Well, that's a really good question. How do you say no and not feel guilty about it? Well, you start by accepting the fact that it's okay to say no. And that can be a really hard thing for some of us to do. But it is okay to say no. It's okay if somebody else says no to you, so it should be okay for you to say no to somebody else. Because there's a lot of people out there that will take advantage of those with a servant's heart. And they'll just keep asking you to do thing after thing after thing until you crumble under the weight. And when you crumble under the weight, that pain, that suffering that you go through, you're the only one that has to go through that. They will just find somebody else to do what you're now not able to do. So make sure there's a balance there so that when there are things that you can do, that you can do it for them, and then perhaps they can wait. You could just ask them to wait, and if they're willing to wait, then you can do it when you can fit it into your schedule. But don't allow people to push you to say yes when your body is already screaming at you that it's had enough. So basically, how you say no is that you decide that it's okay for you to say no. And the big word here is decide. When you decide that something is okay, it becomes okay. Now, undoubtedly, this is a huge mind shift for a lot of people. It certainly was for me. But once you decide, this is what I want, this isn't what I want, then doing what you do want is so much easier. But you have to make the decision. Doesn't matter what anybody else wants. You decide what you are and you aren't willing to do, and you stick to it. And they will respect you for it over time. And then just be willing to accept their disappointment and be okay with it. Because you know what? Their disappointment is just a feeling and it will pass. So that is how you start to learn to say no, is by deciding to do it. So, as mentioned above, setting boundaries is the biggest way that you can start to say no. Because you know what your limitations are. Certainly when you have chronic illnesses like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, you learn that your body has limits. And so even on the days when I feel like I could move a mountain, I know I can't. Well, not that I can't, but that I shouldn't. Because if I try to get everything accomplished that I planned for the week in that one day just because I'm feeling awesome, I will collapse for days. And then I'm of no use to my family, to my clients, to my pets, to anybody. And that's not fair to me or to them. So setting boundaries around everything you do so that you can stay functional on a constant basis. And that's really, really important. And people will start to respect you when you set your boundaries and you say, no, sorry, here's a line and no further. They'll be like, okay, fine. Now I know where the line is and we'll work around it. But if you don't set those boundaries, people are just going to keep pushing right over that line. And you're the one that's going to have to face the consequences. And they'll move on and find somebody else that can help them out once you've crashed and aren't able to anymore. So if you know your schedule is at max, say that and ask if you can move something. They will most likely be willing to do so. And then everybody's happy. So you start by setting your boundaries and sticking to it. How can you say no kindly? Some people are really, really good at manipulating you to do things that you don't want to do or you just aren't able to do in that moment. I think we've all come across those marketers that just will not take no for an answer. I am so glad that I can unsubscribe when I come across people like that, because there comes a point where there's just nothing else you can do but cut off their ability to contact you in order for them to say no. But here are some ways that you can say no kindly. Well, thank you, but no, that's not a priority for us right now. Thank you, but no, that's not in our budget right now. Thank you, but no, my schedule is full at the moment, but I may be able to help you with that in a month. Thank you, but no, I wish you well with your project. Thank you, but no, my workload is maxed at the moment, but Sally said she'd love to help. So you may have noticed that all of the statements started with thank you. So when you start with thank you, it shows that you're honoring them for asking you in the first place. And then it lets them down a little easier when you say no and tell them why you aren't able to do it in that moment. You know, as a Canadian, I'm pretty much programmed to say I'm sorry for just about everything, but you don't have to say you're sorry. But if you are truly sorry that you can't help them, go ahead, say it. You want to be honest with your feelings and how you want to express them. But just be nice about it. And, just by saying thank you, but no, sorry, just doesn't work for me right now, is usually all you need to do. So in conclusion, it's okay to say no for any reason. If you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. And you don't have to feel guilty about it. Because in the end, feeling guilty is completely on you. You don't have to feel guilty. And moreover, feeling guilty is your choice. We are in charge of our own emotions, how we think, and how we feel. So if you feel guilty about saying no, reframe those thoughts. You said no for a reason. And you need to honor that as much as they did. So when there's a reason why you've had to say no, just accept it, be comfortable with it, and decide that you're okay with it. And in that decision, you will then be able to release the guilt and move on. You need to be able to set your boundaries and stand up for them. Because if you don't, people will push you past what you can manage. And in the end, it's your body, it's your life. And if they push you to the point where you collapse, you're no good to anybody, to yourself, to your family, to your friends, to your employers. So learn to say no. Say no on the little things at first, maybe, the things that are pretty minor, and then build your comfort level up until you're able to say no for the bigger things too. But in the end, it's your choice, and it's okay to say no. So if you would like help learning how to say no and how to put it into practice in your own life, please reach out to me at andrea@nopainallgain.ca, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. I have great news. My new book, Tips for Living with Fibromyalgia and Chronic Illness, is now available on Amazon in both digital and hard copy. So if you would like to have all the tips I've been listing in my different blogs, in my YouTube posts, they're all in this book where you can read them and use them when those issues creep up for you. There's also some recipes in there for some drinks that we find for electrolyte drinks and for our ginger tea that we take to keep the flu and colds away. And also tips on how to use hydrotherapy to help get rid of things like migraines, headaches, and other aches and pains. So check out Amazon and you'll be able to find that there. Andrea Gamero and Tips for Living with Fibromyalgia and Chronic Illness. Did you know that one-on-one coaching is a great way to break through the issues that are holding you back in life? Well, that's what I do. I help people look at their lives through a different perspective and help them break down the walls of the things that are holding them back from the lives they truly want to be living. I also specialize in fibromyalgia and chronic illness, and for those that are dealing with health issues and helping them to manage their pain and even eliminate it completely from their lives so they can get their energy back and live the best lives possible. So if this is something that you think you might be interested, please reach out to me at andrea@nopainallgain.ca, and I would be happy to set up a free consultation to see if working together would be a good fit for both of us. And then we can set up some times to start breaking down the walls that are holding you back. So I hope you understand how much God loves you, what an incredible person you are, and how the world would simply not be the same without you in it. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.